To start with, we will go through the list of topics to be learned while appearing for the Amateur Radio License Examination ASOC in India. Most of you will find that many of the topics in basic electronics for part A of the exam have already been learned at the basic level at school science classes. We will have to refresh our memories as well as learn a bit more. Radio regulations in part B of the exam have to be learned in full, as that is what we have to follow as an amateur radio operator. First, we will have a look at the topics for restricted grade examination and then see what are the additional topics to be learned for a general grade examination. As mentioned previously, we can appear for both exams simultaneously by paying the fees for both examinations, so that if we pass at least the restricted level, that level of license will be granted in due course. Once you start working as an amateur radio operator, it is easier to learn further and clear the next level. This list is for general information while preparing for the exam. Check the updated syllabus from the examination center before appearing for the examination, as details might change over time. New regulations may come into force as well. Elementary electricity and magnetism. Elementary theory of electricity. Passive devices like resistors, inductors, transformers, capacitors, and active devices, diodes, transistors. These all can be combined together in integrated circuits. Kirchhoff's current and voltage laws, simple applications of the law. Conductors and insulators, properties, units of circuit elements, Ohm's law. Conductance, definition of self and mutual inductance. Power and energy, definition, units and symbol applications. Permanent magnets and electromagnets, definition, properties and their use. Elementary theory of alternating currents. Sinusoidal alternating quantities, definition of peak, instantaneous, RMS, that is root mean square, average values and its symbol application. We know that usual alternating current is a sinusoidal current which you are getting in the main supply, and all your radio transmissions generate sinusoidal alternating currents but at higher frequency. Phase, reactance, impedance, power factor, definition, units and symbol applications. Parallel and series circuits, series and parallel circuits containing resistance, inductance, capacitance. Resonance in series and parallel circuits, coupled circuits. Rectifiers, voltage regulation and smoothing circuits, their basic knowledge and symbol applications. All these will be useful if you are homebrewing radio equipment. Elementary theory of semiconductor devices, diodes and transistors. Properties, use of these devices for construction of amplifiers, oscillators, detectors and frequency changers. Radio receivers, principles and operation of TRF, tuned radio frequency, and super heterodyne receivers. Now modern commercial receivers are mostly software defined radios, much more advanced than these simple circuits. CW, continuous wave reception, that is Morse code. Receiver characteristics like sensitivity, selectivity, fidelity, adjacent channel and image interference. Image interference is for super heterodyne receivers. AVC, automatic volume control, and squelch circuits, signal to noise ratio. Squelch is silencing of baseline hissing noise in FM radios. Transmitter, Principles and operation of low power transmitter. Crystal oscillators. Crystals are used to stabilize the frequency of oscillators. Stability of oscillators. Basic knowledge about construction of semiconductor based transmitters. Radio wave propagation. Basic knowledge of electromagnetic spectrum. We use only a small portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, that is the radio waves. Wavelength, frequency, frequency bands, nature and propagation of radio waves, ground and sky waves, space waves, skip distance, skip zone, and fading. Most of this I have covered in videos in my previous sections. Aerials. Common types of transmitting and receiving aerials. We call these antennas. Frequency measurement. Measurement of frequency and use of simple frequency meters. Most of the modern radios have built-in frequency measurement devices. Section B, radio regulations. New regulations may come into force as well, so please check. Knowledge of Indian Wireless Telegraph Rules 1973, Indian Wireless Telegraph's Amateur Service Rules 1978 and amendments. Knowledge of ITU, International Telecommunication Union, radio regulations as relating to the operation of amateur stations, with particular emphasis on the following as per provision of Radio Regulation 2008 edition. This also might get updated later. Designation of emission in Appendix 1. Phonetic alphabets and figure code, Appendix 14. Nomenclature of the frequency and wavelength, Article 2. Frequency allocation for amateur services, Article 5. Interference measures against interference and tests, Article 15. Identification of stations, Article 19. Distress signal, call and message transmissions, Article 30, 31, 32 and 33. Urgency signal, call and message transmissions, Article 30, 31, 32 and 33. Amateur station, Article 25. Call sign series allocated to India, Appendix 42. Standard frequency and time signal services in the world. The following Q codes and abbreviations shall have the same meaning as assigned to them in the convention. QRA, QRG, QRH, QRI, QRK, QRL, QRM, QRN, QRO, QRS, QRT, QRU, QRV, QRW, QRX, QRZ, QSA, QSB, QSL, QSO, QSU, QSV, QSW, QSX, QSY, QSZ, QTC, QTH, QTR and QUM. Abbreviations: AA, AS, AR, AS, C, CFM, CL, CQ, DE, K, NIL, OK, R, TU, VA, WA, WB. These abbreviations are mostly used in CW or Morse code transmissions. In addition to the topics for restricted grade examination, the following items must be learned for the general grade examination. Principles of communications. Elementary idea of analog and digital communication. Need for modulation, amplitude, frequency and pulse modulation. Elementary idea about demodulation. Alternating current. Basic concepts on construction of transformers. Definition of transformer losses. Transformer as a matching device. Semiconductor devices and transistors. Elementary principles of conduction and construction. Symbols and biasing methods. Power supplies. Basic knowledge of half-wave and full-wave rectifiers. Definition and application of bridge rectifier, smoothing and regulating circuits. Transmitters and receivers. Elementary principles of transmission and reception of facsimile and television signals. Propagation. Characteristics of ionosphere and troposphere. Properties of ionosphere layers. Critical frequency and day and night frequencies. All these are important when you operate amateur radio stations, especially on the HF bands. Aerials. Principles of radiation. Aerials for different frequency bands, including aerials for microwave, though we do not often operate on microwave ranges. Space communications. Elementary principles of communication via satellites. Specialty for general grade is that you need Morse code, both sending and receiving at 8 words per minute. Morse code is not mandatory in many countries, so this regulation also might change in future.